Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Zen. I want to continue on this exploration of what the moon is, and I haven't really got into the deep history of it because I don't think it really has much value for people off of the superficial moment where we're living, this time space, because it doesn't really matter where it came from or what it's doing. But from a larger consciousness, considering we all are immortal and it'd be a deeper understanding for some people, it seems as though if we look at the moon and we see that it's the same size as the sun, and we see it as a surface just like something that could be charged with energy, we could see the sun and the moon as basically your in-breath and your out-breath. And for thousands of years, if we look into the history of things and ancient ideas, that there were two suns. Or we could see it as what is happening is the moon received the charge from the sun thousands and thousands of years ago and gave it back to the moon and back and forth. Over thousands of years, if you were able to witness this, maybe what you would see is two objects in the sky that had equally the same radiation, and then over a period of maybe 5, 6, 10,000 years, who knows? Maybe there are some people that do know that have explored that. But the idea is, just like in the ocean, you can charge the phytoplankton. There are certain materials that you can charge with sunlight. And they have photoreceptors, and they obtain and then display the charge. So in the same way, the moon gives off a certain light that is very similar. It's the eerie essence of that. Now, if what had happened was, what if the sun is the same thing, but it's fully charged at the moment? And so the idea that we've lived in such a monetary moon-based system, that the charge is gone, that it's all, notice that it, when I say inorganic and artificial, it's essentially meaning that the charge of the moon is dead or near death. Nothing really dies, if we remember this, that is just now the moon is underground. The moon is going to receive the charge from the sun. And what do we have to do with this? Well, if the linkage is here, and if we even talk about the dark side of the moon or the other side of the sun or the portals, if the linkage is here of energy going between the sun and the moon, and what people have been doing for years is covering themselves up and putting sunglasses on to not receive the charge from the sun, well then this sun and moon can play all day, and they can reflect their energies off of the water. But if we start collecting the energy from the sun, as well as the plant life that is actually sun material, sun energy mixed with water, so we take that plant life and put it into us, and we take that water, we're actually taking the energy, and as well we get into sun gazing, we're taking the energy from the sun, and we can just as equally charge the moon back up. So what if the reality of the situation, what if the real thing that's going on, because nobody here, not too many of us, let's say, have been alive for long enough to witness what happens with the sun and moon. So most people know from their lifetime, 40, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and maybe you have a few generations of stories and history in some of these books, but what if a generation of people could recharge the moon? What if there was enough people that collected energy from the sun, because now you become a light body and a solar being yourself from collecting information and energy from the sun, that you become a sun yourself, and you can actually charge the moon. Wouldn't that be interesting? What if that's, and this is a theory. This isn't, I'm not suggesting this is absolute, but it could be. It could be. And what would that do? That would actually complete the triangle that's missing. If we always get into this theory of the eye on top of the pyramid, and why was there always a levitating, this is the upside down, what's the capstone? And if we flip that around, what do we have? We have that universal symbol. And if we get into what the moon is, as I've done many of times, as refracting or taking one single source light and spitting out 7 rays, as they show you. There's some interesting theory in that. It's all about what we've done and what are we as charge receivers and generators. And we could get farther into this. And I'm not going to do all of this here. We'll save this for a later date. This will be more advanced stuff that I'll do. But this gets into what carbon is, what melanin is, and the power that's within the... if we just look at it this way, the number 10, a tan, and to receive light, you get dark. That's the interesting idea, that it seems like the opposite would happen. If you were getting light, wouldn't you get lighter? But you actually get a tan or a 10 or darker, and that's where your charge comes from. So if you're charging up the inside of your body, it's a little different than charging the outside of your body. And people can charge both of them. You can receive melanin on your skin, and you can receive information and power and energy through the insides of your body. So if the inside of your body is not dark and full of light, receive light through the sun, rather than putting sunglasses on and covering your skin up. And then maybe you'd end up glowing like this stuff over here. And that would be just as recharging the moon. And maybe your connection to the moon, and that's why the moon is as dark as it is. Because a planet of people haven't charged themselves enough with the sun. And if we did, we'd actually charge the moon up, and there would be no nighttime. The moon would no longer be dark. Why don't you all chew on that for a little while. We'll talk soon, everybody.